The comic book buying hiatus is over. Now what do I do? Hey there, today I have an unboxing video, and in this video I'm going to open up a very large order. It was an auction that I won from HipComic through the seller Quality Comics some time ago. But I think now that I've entered sort of this new chapter of my comic book collecting journey, I have decided to change up how I do unboxings and how I share the books that I'm buying with you, and how I go over what I paid for it and so forth. I still have some orders here, and it feels like the orders are creeping up on me and coming to get me. And I really need to finally get through them. And with my buying hiatus now officially over, it was arbitrarily set for March 1st. 2023. I'm officially back in the market to buy comic books. But what I thought I would do is continue unboxing my backlog of orders, but change it up a little bit. I realized that a lot of times when I'm unboxing, things get a little wordy, and I'm talking about comic book collecting philosophy, and I still like to do that from time to time. But what I'd like to do is really just focus on some unboxings and also take some of the larger orders and break them up into smaller chunks. So this will be a multi-part video, and this is part one of this specific order. And what I'd like to do is break it up into smaller chunks where I can actually appreciate the books that I'm getting. I think with bigger orders, I tend to show a lot of books and kind of show the summary, and it's a lot of numbers, and it's just taking away, I think, from the value and the meaning of each book. And I want to, again, going forward, change a little bit as far as like how I appreciate my collection. A lot of times if I am placing a large order, some of the books just kind of get lost in the shuffle. So I'm going to get to the unboxing of this big order, probably take a handful of books off the top, go through them, and tell you what I paid for them. But I'm not going to analyze the entire order. I'll probably do that in a separate video. But what I'm going to do is tell you book by book what I paid, what the value is, maybe what I was thinking at the time. These are all auction wins, so you can see what the final bid was and just how I prepared and prepped for each book. But I think I want to put more of the focus on the comic books themselves and less around maybe the philosophy of comic book collecting or talking about methodologies. And I'll have plenty of videos still if you enjoy that, not to worry. But I'm kind of re-energized and motivated to not only get through my backlog of orders, but stay organized, but pay more attention and appreciate each book. So let's get to the unboxing of this big order and take a look at part one of this unboxing of auction wins from Quality Comics. All right, here is that oversized box. Contains all of my auction winnings from Quality Comics. So let's get this thing opened up. Okay, so I'm through the unboxing, and you can see here a pretty significant stack of books. And what I did is I just grabbed the first like little pack. At first, I will say that this shipment from Quality Comics was very well packed. Lots of bubble wrapped, a lot of excessive tape, but everybody seems to do that. They love tape. But as far as the additional bubble wrap and padding and everything, it was great. Everything looks great. Doesn't look like it was damaged in transit and so on. Just general look of this sort of like first mini brick or mini stack. Everything seems to be okay. And it looks like they put like 5 or 6 books into a plastic bag and then just stacked all the books together and also secured it with some cardboard on top and bottom. So thank you for taking the extra effort and time to pack up the books securely. So I'm going to go through just this part, just this stack of books. I don't know which books are in this pile, and then I will unpack the rest of the order in future videos. All right, so let's see what we got. The first book is Amazing Spider-Man 308. As a Todd McFarlane fan, I love these Amazing Spider-Man books from 298 to I think 328 that he did covers on and interior art. And everybody focuses really on 298, 99, and 300 because it involves the first appearance of Venom. We have ASM 315, 316. But honestly, the whole run done by McFarlane is not only great, it's highly collectible. And the way that I'm changing sort of the reveal of the books and the prices is instead of waiting to the very end to show you the complete order analysis, I'm just going book by book so you can completely see all of the details in terms of what I paid for the book, which includes any shipping or tax, and any of the current fair market values, and if I were to get the books graded. And to me, anytime I can grab these for a reasonable price, there's a lot of upside and potential. Now, this book in particular, it does have a couple of color breaks right in here that I can see right through the bag. So, already probably not a 9.8 candidate, but I was essentially with Quality Comics looking at a range, a condition range, and it shifts. I think early on, before I had data, I was considering the 9.2 to 9.6 range, and then taking kind of an average value and figuring out what should my final bid price be. And I've shifted that with Quality Comics down to like an 8.5 to 9.2. I forget exactly. It's somewhere it's either 8 to 8.5 is my lower end, and then 9 to 9.2. I think I'm extending it out into a 9.2 because I think even if I were to give that book just a quick assessment, even with the bag and board, assuming there's nothing really wrong with the back, and I know I'd have to do that to get the accurate grade, but that probably looks to be a book that's going to end up being a 9.2. Whether it needs just a dry cleaning and a quick press, still 9 to 9.2. So I think that when I'm deciding to bid on these, I feel like, well, in a worst case, it's a 9.2. Therefore, I'm taking kind of an average value in the range. And then if I'm also including values of an 8 and 8.5, I still feel like I'm getting a pretty good deal. And if I remember right, with this particular auction, I won so many books, I sort of preset all of my max bids. So I just went in, prepared, put the max bids in, and then just watched and hoped for the best. And I did. I got a pretty substantial run of Amazing Spider-Man, so this may all be in kind of alphabetical order here, but we'll see. This is Amazing Spider-Man 310. I wanted to grab this for the same reasons, but also because it was a newsstand, and there are people that really go crazy over newsstands. And this one, to me, it has a little bit of a stack increase, but looks really good. Maybe just a couple of minor ticks here and there that could probably come out with a little tack iron work. But also, if you could see in the barcode, it's quite dirty, so it would need some sort of... I would wet clean this book, just probably go through one pass just to kind of brighten it up a little bit. It looks a little bit dull in terms of the lettering and the barcode. But these are also collectible in newsstands, so you have some of those newsstand fiends with certain books. And the philosophy is find a book that's very, very popular and has a large print run, and then see if you can find a newsstand, because those are typically less. And I understand that approach. I'm not a newsstand collector, but I do understand value, and I like to collect value. And I thought that was a good pickup for the price. Now I've got my invoice I'm looking over here, and I think the bulk of these are Amazing Spider-Man. It's almost like I studied and prepped for the first couple of pages of the auction because they are alphabetized, and then maybe I gave up. I don't know, but a lot of books that start with A, including Amazing Spider-Man. So this stack right here may be all ASMs. This one is ASM 271. This book has some value too. I'm not a huge fan of the cover. I get that it's an all orange sort of thing, and it could be some folks that collect certain colors or variations of colors of books. It is a black costume Spidey book as well. I got this for really, really cheap, around $1. So it was worth a grab. And again, just kind of looking at kind of the general defects, not major color breaks, just a few hairline and a stack increase. And the stack increase could just come from this order, I don't know. But, could be pressed and cleaned up. Again, I'm looking at a 9.2 and a 9.4 for that book. So happy to get that for $1. And a lot of it too is not necessarily me buying it or bidding on it at a certain price because I feel like, oh, I'm guaranteed to get it at a certain grade, therefore buying it for $1 means I'm got the potential for a lot of value to be added. It's more of the gamble and the risk that you could have a couple of pressable defects where the book could be improved. So in some cases you gamble and you lose and you're like, nope, that's a 9 or a 9.2 no matter what. In other cases you do see some potential for a 9.6 or a 9.8. The next one is Amazing Spider-Man 269. Great book with Firelord on the cover. This one looks like it had some sort of ink bleed that, like when it went to printing, the 269 is pretty thick there. I got a great deal on this book. I thought I won it for about $3. Looks like really strong copy. Next is Amazing Spider-Man 268. It's a great John Byrne black suit Spidey cover. My final bid on this book was $2 or $3. So, I mean, just feel very fortunate to have acquired these books. As I look at the condition, there's definitely like a finger bend right up in here that would have to be dealt with. I don't know if that breaks color completely right there. It might be able to be pressed out. While these comics were packed well, they were stacked and sort of wrapped heavily with tape. And what I would recommend too is if you are going to go through the trouble of putting these like little mini packs, like slide cardboard between the packs, because the cardboard on top and bottom is nice, certainly, but then everything is just, all the comics are compressed. So it doesn't surprise me that each one has a stacking crease along the spine. The good news is that can be pressed out, but I don't want to always buy books that when I say, well, I can always press this. I prefer to buy books in quality where I don't have to. But again, the trade-off is I'm getting all of these for $2 or $3 each. And Amazing Spider-Man is sort of a bread and butter staple of anybody's collection. I understand if you're not a Marvel fan, then this may not be of interest to you. But if you are, you're not only respecting the character in the title, but you're kind of respecting the fact that it is sort of like that blue chip title. Like Amazing Spider-Man is always going to be collectible. I would argue, from issue 1 to maybe all the way up to issue 400, or maybe it starts to taper off around 365, 375, somewhere around there. But even though I have all of these books already, it's hard for me to pass up, and it's hard for me to disregard the value of the books, even if every book, like these next two, are maybe not the most collectible and sought after. In high grade, these are always going to retain some value. So the last two books that I'm going to show in this part 1 of the unboxing is ASM 266. This one had a little bit of attention because of the whole Frogman thing with She-Hulk, which that came and went super, super fast. The only thing that looks disappointing in this one is it's a little bit of staple pushing here, which, while I don't think you get necessarily dinged by CGC, I think there's an assumption that a book was pressed and pressed incorrectly. I have books with staple pushes, and it looks like they typically come back as a 9 or 9.2. Again, for the price I paid, I'm not super disappointed in it. It looks pretty strong. Looks to be a very, very nice copy. Certainly worth the $1 or so that I spent on it. And then the last book is Amazing Spider-Man 263. This one featuring Normie Osborn. Again, a little bit of hype around that character, but again, manufactured hype. This book was always seemed kind of silly to me. I think back when I picked it up in 1984 and never really kind of understood it. And I was surprised to see this book jump to whatever it was, from $1 to $2 to $5 or $10, or labeling it as a key now. But again, a $2 to $3 investment here, and it looks to be a pretty good copy. I'm noticing something right on the bottom, a little bit of maybe a slight corner crunch or color breakdown there on the corner, but the spine looks pretty strong. I would probably attack a lot of these with some humidity. There you can see a couple of the spine ticks there. Just blast the spine with humidity, run it through a press, and then see if the spine ticks come out. And then if they don't, maybe just determine whether or not I would want to spend extra time on it. But all of these probably just need to go through that sort of basic process of either one pass of a wet clean or a blast of humidity, and then a press after that. And I think even, it's one of these things where these are all fantastic, Amazing Spider-Man books. They're great in the condition that they're in. But what do I want to do? What's sort of worth the trouble and worth my while with these? But I think that instead of looking at these books and wondering, like, do I want to invest my time into really cleaning and pressing and improving these, and instead just sort of set them aside to run through, again, kind of that basic process, like a wipe down, a dry clean, get it into the press, get it out, take a look. And I think even that process is going to give all of these books a grade bump of some kind. Like if we're talking about nines, I think that gets to a 9.2, and then would have to look at the value and see, is it worth continuing to try and go through a second press, or even some intricate tack iron work on the spine, or some erasing. I think none of these books that I really opened up, I think, would be worth that kind of time. Maybe the ASM 310 and 308, the McFarlane books, except 308 already has the color breaking spine ticks there. So it is something too, as far as the strategy of how I want to work on these books. I think even that's changing. And what I would do is I would basically say yes or no, like I'm going to work on this book or I'm not going to. And I think that there's a middle ground. I think that sometimes it's about improving the book as best you can, or with minimal effort, and then kind of walk away from it. I don't think every book needs like full attention and full detail, and I think that that's how I'll probably approach working on these books. Is not only are they candidates for a little bit of a grade bump with not a lot of effort, it was a minimal investment on a lot of these. We're talking about books ranging from about $1 to $4 each. The ASM McFarlane books a little bit more, but minimal investment, minimal risk, hopefully higher reward. And I think either way, you can't really go wrong with back issues of Amazing Spider-Man like this. Let me know if you like this new format of me kind of breaking up my larger unboxings into smaller portions and providing you more of the financial details book by book. Please leave me a comment and let me know, do you agree or disagree with my thoughts around Amazing Spider-Man being kind of that blue chip title? I know that not every Amazing Spider-Man issue is highly sought after and collectible, but I feel like in a high grade, it kind of is. But if you disagree or have any comments or thoughts around that, let me know. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.